It only took me 24 episodes to get to this, you know, not that long. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Wreck This Journal again. If you're only here for Create This Book, I will be doing that in the next week or two. I am alternating between this art journal and that one, and I'm also doing a craft kit testing series. So those are the types of things you're going to see on this channel for a while until we decide to add something else to the mix. But I hope that you guys will enjoy this episode because today we are going to say goodbye to the red cover. Thank you, next. So that's gonna be one of the 3 pages that I decorate in this video, even though I guess the cover isn't a page, but yeah. If you happen to be new here and you're not caught up on the series, I will link that in the description box below, as well as the iCard up there. You don't have to watch them in order, so just choose whichever ones look interesting and jump around. Mrs. Doubtfire, yeah, one of my favorite movies ever. So I guess without further ado, let's get into the pages. So this first page says to doodle over top of all these different things. I've done everything except the cover, so we're going to do the cover like I said. You guys, I have so many pads of scrapbook paper. It's kind of a problem, but they all do fit nicely under my desk area, so I guess it's okay. This is one of my absolute favorites though. It's the Boho Bohemian, which is actually pretty redundant. So many beautiful, colorful papers. Okay. I ended up choosing this one, which I think is a great representation of me because I like to doodle mandalas all the time. So like you look at this cover and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of Sarah because she loves this stuff. Now that we have the chosen one, the chosen paper, I'm going to put that under the cover so I can trace around it with a pencil. And I'm going to cut that out around the outlines, obviously, so it matches the shape of the book. Once that's trimmed to the right size, I am going to work on the window and just centering the box so Wreck This Journal can show through, so it can actually look like the book still and not just like a mystery, I don't know, like a mystery like sketchbook or whatever. I don't know, I still want it to look like a Wreck This Journal. So you can see that I traced around Wreck This Journal, the box, with just a normal sheet of computer paper. So that was, you know, thin enough to see through. This part didn't work and I wasn't going to leave it in, but it's me trying to use a Crayola marker, a water-based ink marker, to just draw around this and hope that it kind of works like a stamp on the back of this page, on the back of the scrapbook paper, and like imprints it, but that didn't work. It dried too quickly. I just didn't want you all wondering why there's suddenly an orange line around Wreck This Journal now. So yeah, that's why I tried something. And another way to, of course, center it is just to kind of like mark it like I'm doing, move the paper down and mark off the lines that way, or you can be more precise and use a ruler, whatever you want. I kind of used both to help me, but still it didn't turn out completely perfect in the right spot. You'll see what I mean soon, but now I did cut the square out so there's a window and it didn't match up completely. So off camera I did trim even more. So you do want to trim less than you need at first and then work with that after. I'm going to take some duct tape, and this is black and white polka dot, black with white polka dot duct tape. So I'm making a border or a frame around the Wreck This Journal title. I keep wanting to say logo. I guess it's like kind of a logo. And now I'm going to attach the scrapbook paper to the front of the book with Mod Podge. So I'm using a sponge brush, and I'm going to do this as quickly as possible because Mod Podge does dry kind of quickly and you want to make sure it's still wet and workable. So this took like a minute or so, like a minute and 30 seconds, but I've sped up the footage obviously. And then I'm just going to smooth the scrapbook paper on as best as I can without getting wrinkles or bubbles. And then I did flip the book upside down and I put heavy objects on top. I had more than just these coasters, but I am now removing everything, and I don't know how long I let this sit here, at least an hour probably, I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna go in with even more elements now to decorate. So I have 2 colors of acrylic paint. Turquoise is obviously one of my absolute favorite colors if you guys have been watching my channel for a while. And I do really like pink as well. So I squirt these into my dirty paint palette that I didn't end up cleaning out from the painting with Q-tips video from a couple months back. It's been a while. I also mixed in a little bit of water with these paints to make them splatterable. Is that a word? It is now. So I'm gonna do a splatter effect with a paintbrush and just kind of like flick the bristles to get some drips on the page. I really like this. I've done it on a couple pages inside the book, I believe, at least one of them. So I did that with the pink and the blue, obviously, to bring a pop of colors onto the cover. So it's not just dull and white and black. Gotta have some color there. I let the paint dry in between the two colors so the blue wouldn't mix with the pink, and I also let it completely dry before moving on to the next step. And I just really thought that the book looked unfinished at this point, so I took a black Sharpie marker, I put paper underneath so I wouldn't get ink all over my table or the other pages underneath, and I just outlined the cover of the book, and this way it looks more finished to me. It looks more complete. I don't know, it's like framing everything. And I also decided to do some squiggly lines around Wreck This Journal, and I put some hearts off camera, and you can see I smudged some of the paint on the bottom of the page as well, and this is the completed cover. We're gonna get back to the doodle over top of page, and I am going to do a beautiful watercolor painting with this image here that I sketched out. But first, let's do a quicker page and get this one over with. This one I'm pretty excited about, honestly, even though the prompt is not really something unique. It just literally says, write carelessly now. This page is one that I have followed the directions on to a T. You guys who have watched the series throughout know that I bend the rules a lot, but this one I literally followed what it said to do. So I used a black fine liner to write the word carelessly, and I didn't take the action of writing carelessly literally, so I, didn't like do pencil lines or anything before. I just did a very rough outline of all the letters without really planning it too much. So I guess I kind of did it carelessly in a way, but I also did put some care into making sure that the outlines weren't too scribbled, just scribbled enough, and then the designs that I did inside the letters looked nice and, aren't really a mess. So I didn't want it to look extremely messy, I guess is what I'm saying. And then I just went in with these markers, which are Recollections brush tip markers. They're actually dual brush, so there's like a little detailed end on the other side. I didn't really use those, but I wanted to stick with this color scheme for the most part, and then a couple different grays and white and black. So there's not too much to explain. I will just really quickly tell you that I did patches of color, and then I did lines and dots and circles and zigzags. And I also outlined things with black fine liner, so like the patches of color you can see I outlined. At first, I thought this was going to turn out horrendous, to be honest, because I started with just the patches on the left, and I thought that's how I was going to do the entire page, and I'm like, no, this needs to have some variety. I need to switch things up and just not really care how it ends up, I guess. Like, I did not plan out any of this. I just drew the lines and colors and things as I went. And I used a Posca paint pen to do the white outlines and circles. It took a few hours, not gonna lie. It might not look like it took that long, but it did. It actually took just as long as the next page that we're going to be doing, which is the watercolor one. But this is definitely a lot more abstract than that one, and I think it's actually so much fun to do stuff like this because it just makes you feel free. That's why I'm thankful for things like Wreck This Journal and just doodling in general, because it is a lot of fun even if it doesn't have much structure. At least at first glance you wouldn't think it has a lot of structure, but then you can really pinpoint on the different patterns and different sections of it and say, hey, that actually does, that did take some planning. So yeah, I don't know. This is actually a very interesting page, and I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I would. Third and finally, let's get into my personal favorite page. So I have the sketch that you've seen already. You saw a little sneak peek of it in the intro and before we did the second page. But this one is going to include just a little patch of these iridescent watercolor paints, and I actually am going to do a quick swatch of all these for you. I kind of didn't show the entire swatching process, but you know, here's what they do look like, and they are so shimmery. It's gorgeous. Also, is this not the prettiest dirty paint water that you've ever seen? The camera does not do it justice, but it's so sparkly. Now the paint swatches are dry, so I'm going to show you how they shimmer when the page moves and just shifts with the light. It's gorgeous. Also, I'm very surprised at how pinky rose gold the like coppery one was. I thought it was actually going to be like a coppery bronze, but it turned out more pink, and I love it. P.S. If you guys watch my craft kit testing series, here is the winner. So this is what you have to look forward to next Friday. So be there. I'm very excited to test a vintage craft kit. Now let's paint this girl in. She's supposed to be a representation of me being really happy, and also I wanted it to tie in with the cover that I just did. So there's like the flowery, petally, mandala, Zentangle type detail. This watercolor palette that I'm using, if you're wondering what brand it is, I forget, but I believe I got it from Michael's, and it was a very cheap set. I think it was Craft Smart maybe. For some reason it doesn't have the brand written on the back or anything, so I can't let you guys know for sure. It works surprisingly well though. It's more powdery, I'd say, than other more expensive brands, like more high-end watercolors. Then again, I don't have much experience with high-end watercolors at all, so I don't really know what I'm saying. But for me, someone who doesn't use watercolors a lot, I guess is what I'm saying, it works well. The only thing I notice is that it gets a lot more dull after drying, like a lot more. So I tried to do shading with the skin as best as I possibly could, but you'll see later on what I mean. Like these dark shadows, they turned out a lot lighter, and I did actually go over some of them with colored pencil at the end just to kind of enhance the shadows. For some reason, I decided to go with a purpley, maroon, pinkish color scheme for this page. I think just because of the hair color that I chose, I wanted it to just be kind of like monochromatic almost, but it's really like two different colors, pink and purple. I wouldn't consider that monochromatic, but anyway, still gives off that effect. So I did shade in the like flower petally leaf part at the bottom that she's walking through, and to be honest, one of the main reasons I did this is because I wanted to hide her hand. I didn't want to have to draw fingers. Fingers are scary, guys. They're hard. Honestly, when they're small, they're even harder. And then you can see everything else that I did with the page. Very simple, just flowers with dots around them. And I put a bunch of like circles and dots coming out of the leaves. It almost looks kind of space-like at this point. Like parts of it give me like a spacey vibe, but also it's just a very relaxing, calm, peaceful setting. And she has her eyes closed. She's just like kind of basking in all the happiness, and I'm imagining that it's a warm place because right now it's snowy and cold where I am, and I don't like the cold at all. So she's in her sundress. It's just, everything is gorgeous. So yeah, I finished shading in the hair, and that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments section below which page from this video was your absolute favorite. And remember, I post a brand new video here every single Friday, so turn on bell notifications if you never want to miss out. If you enjoyed this one, please give it a thumbs up to let me know. And also, what else was I gonna say? Stay tuned for Create This Book and more craft kit testing episodes. There will be some videos posted over here if you want to see those as well. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you soon. Bye! Thank you for watching. I don't know.